Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you are welcome. So, in this video, we are going to look at the concept of amino acid titration curve. Don't forget to subscribe, follow, and join to my YouTube community for more videos. So now, starting with the introduction to amino acid titration curve. Amino acid are organic compounds that contain both amino and carboxylic groups. So the best thing to describe amino acid, of course, they are organic compound, and they have two important functional groups, which are amino group and carboxylic groups. And the titration curve of amino acid illustrate how its pH changes with the addition of a titrant, usually a strong acid or a strong base. So when you say titrant, it means what you have, of course, in your burette. So it is called a titrant. So a titration curve of an amino acid is trying to illustrate how its pH changes with the addition of a titrant. And as you can see here, this is, of course, sodium hydroxide added. So as you can see, this is a titration curve of an amino acid where we have pK1 and we have pK2. And of course, we have Pi, which is known as isoelectric points. So the pH changes with the addition of titrant is what's trying to illustrate the titration curve. So the titration curve of an amino acid is trying to show how the amino acid, how the pH changes with the addition of the titrant. And as you can see from here, this is the pH against the strong base or acid added. So it can be based on strong acid added. So this is a pH against sodium hydroxide added. And as you can see from here, the pH keeps changing. It started from pK1 then to pK2. So that is what we describe as titration curve. So very importantly, understanding these curves helps in analyzing the acid-base properties and the ionic state of amino acid at different pH levels. So that's why it is very important to understand this titration curve. And titration curve is made up of pH changes with addition of either strong acid or a strong base. So that is the titration curve of an amino acid. And then very importantly, the structure and the ionization of amino acid. So amino acid have at least two ionizable groups. So the two ionizable groups, the least two ionizable groups that are found in amino acid are amino group and the carboxylic groups. And the ionization state of these groups varies with pH, resulting in different forms such as cation, zwitterion, and anion. So as you can see, these are actually the ionization of amino acids. The ionization of amino acids, it's actually depend on the pK, or the pK values determine the pH at which these groups gain or lose protons during titration. So as you can see here, when the pH is greater than pKa, so the pH is low, that indicates that there will be cation. So at this point, there will be a gain of protons. So as you can see here, this is a gain of protons because the pH is low. And of course, at this point, the pH is less than the pK1. So that is why the ionizable group here is amino group by gaining one proton. But in the case of zwitterion, it means that the pH is equal to the pKa1 and pKa2. So when the pH is equal to pK1, or is something as pKa, so if pH is equal to pKa, it means that the amino acid is at its zwitterion, that is the neutral pH, where both the carboxylic group and amino group are ionizable. And at this point, there is a gain of protons by amino group and the loss of proton by the carboxylic group. So that is why they remain neutral, because the positive charge from the ammonia or the amino group and the negative charge from the carboxylic group will neutralize each other. So that is why here is negative and here is positive. So that is why it is neutral. And this neutral is maintained when the pH is equal to pKa. And then very importantly, when pH is greater than pK2, so it means that the pH is very high, and at that point, there is actually a loss of proton. So that is why at this point, it's only carboxylic group that has negative charge. And of course, the amino acid is negative, or it is anions. It is anions because of this negative charge on the carboxylic group, and it is positive charge, that is cations, because of the positive charge in the amino group, and the pH is low. So that is why it is anionic, or sorry, it is cationic, or it is cation. And then very importantly, if the pH is equal to pKa, then it is at zeta iodized neutral pH. So now, what the typical titration curve of a zeta amino acid? So you need to understand, ladies and gentlemen, the titration curve typically shows three key regions. So there are three key regions in the titration curve, which includes the initial, buffering, and the equivalence regions. So these are the three different regions that are usually found in the titration curve of a zeta ionic amino acid. So this is the initial pH, that is the initial pH, where we have our zeta ion, and at this initial pH, it means that the amino acid is at its zeta ionic stage, where the pH is equal to 0, and then the carboxylic group and the amino group are all ionized. Like, for example, in the case of carboxylic group, it loses a proton, and then the amino group, it gains a proton. So this is actually the initial pH. That is the initial state. And as you can see, the initial pH is usually around the isoelectric point, where the amino acid exists as a zeta ion. So that is the most important thing that you need to understand. So this is the initial pH, where the isoelectric point, where the pH is around the isoelectric point, and the amino acid exists at it is zeta ion. And then we also have a buffering region. So this is a buffering region, and then we also have the equivalent point. So the curve, that is the titration curve demonstrate sharp changes in pH near the equivalence point where deprotonation or protonation occurs. So it means that it is actually at the equivalent point where the amino acid will undergo protonation or deprotonation. So as we can see clearly here, this is actually equivalent point 1. So at this equivalent point 1, there is deprotonation of carboxylic group. So that is why it is actually a negative charge. So the pH usually keeps changing or increases as the volume of the base added. So that is actually the titration curve. It is pH against the titrant, which can be base or the strong acids. As you can see, these are the three regions: the initial pH region, the buffering region, and then the equivalent points. So now, interpretation of titration data. So the pKa values can be identified as the pH values at the midpoint of the buffering regions. So this is the midpoint of the buffering region. So as we can see, the pKa values can be identified as the pH values at the midpoint of the buffering regions. So it means that the pH value at this region or at the buffering region is the same thing as the pKa. So that is the most important thing. And then the shape and the position of the curve depend on the specific amino acid site change and site chain and its ionization properties. So you see, if you look at it, ladies and gentlemen, this titration curve will have different shape. And of course, the shape and the position of the curve depend on the specific amino acid side chain, number one, and then it is ionization properties. So these curves are useful for determining the amino acids base behavior and for calculating its isoelectric points. So now let's look at the different ways in calculating the PI, that is isoelectric point of an amino acid. If you have neutral amino acid, so usually we take the if it is actually in the case where you have a neutral amino acid, so what you usually do, like in the case of glycine and alanine, so to calculate the PI value, what you do, you take the pKa of the carboxylic group and then you add it with the pKa of the amino group and you divide it by 2 and that will give you the average PI, that is isoelectric points of that particular neutral amino acid. But if it is acidic, so what you do, like in the case of aspartate and glutamate, are typical examples of acidic amino acids. So what you do to calculate the isoelectric point, you take the pKa of carboxylic group and then you add it with the pKa of the side chain. The pKa of the side chain. Like so the average the two lowest pKa values, that is both the carboxylic and then the side chain. So that is what you do. So if you have amino acids that are acidic, so to calculate the isoelectric points, you take the pKa of the carboxylic group and then you add it with the pKa of the side chain of that particular acidic amino acid, and then you divide it by 2. So that will give you the isoelectric points for acidic amino acid. And what do you do at this point? If you have more than 2, let's say you have 3, so you take the average, you average the lowest pKa values. You average the lowest pKa values of both the carboxylic and the side chain. But in the case where you have the basic amino acids, like in the case where you have lysine and arginine, so to calculate isoelectric points, you have to take the pKa of the side chain and then the pKa of the amino group, and you divide it by 2. And of course, let's say you have 3 different pKa or 4 different pKa values. So what do you do in the case of calculating the basic amino acid? So you average the 2 highest pKa values for both the side chains and the ammonia. So now let's look at some examples here. So this is glycine, and of course you know glycine is an example of neutral amino acid. So as you can see, we have pK1, which is 2.34, and then the pKa2, which is 9.60. So to calculate the PI here, you now take 2.34 and you add it with 9.60 and you divide it by 2. And that will give you the isoelectric point of that particular amino acid, which is glycine. And then the next one is arginine. So as you can see, arginine is a basic amino acid, and of course, the pK1 is 2.17, and then the pK2 is 9.04, and then the pKr, that is the pKa of side chain, is 12.48. So what do you do here? Then you take the pKa 2, and then you take the pK of R side chain. So that is why we have 9.04 plus 12.48 and you divide it by 2. And that will give you 10.76 as isoelectric point of arginine. Then of course, in the case where you have aspartic acid, which is acidic, and as you can see clearly from here, you have the pK1, which is 1.88, and then we have the pKr, which is actually the R side chain, and it's 3.65. So to calculate the pi, then you take the lowest values for both the pKa of the carboxylic group and then the pK of the R side chain, and we average them, and that will give you 2.76. So this is the isoelectric point of aspartate amino acids, which is acidic. Thank you very much, and see you next.